Hello, Norm. How are you today? It's so great to see you. I'm so excited for this conversation that we're going to have.
Thanks for having me on, Sandy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. So, you are the owner of Lone Star Art. You left corporate America
Yeah, at
when you
50.
turned 50. So, talk about that. Like, what prompted this? What's the backstory?
Yeah, so I've always been a creative. I got my degree in photography, and then I transitioned and started doing computer graphics back when the Macintosh was a new thing, and taught myself, and then worked for a bunch of different corporations along the way. Kind of moved up the ladder, and then went to work at Compaq, which became HP,
Right.
and I was working there as a graphic designer, and it was the sort of situation where it was feast or famine, right? So it was either crunch time, everything deadline, lots of overtime, or absolutely nothing at all for weeks sometimes, with very little to do. And so you can only surf the internet for so long before you start just getting bored. And yeah, like I said, I'm a creative, so I started developing these, taught myself how to build websites, and started a little e-commerce store, and it kind of took off, and I started building several of these, and it got to the point where I was making more on my side hustles than I was in my real job, and I was kind of burned out from the whole corporate thing. I didn't really do that well in an environment where everything was so bureaucratic and it took forever to get anything done. And I told my wife, I was like, I can't do this for the next 10, 15 years. Um, and so we came up with a game plan. And she was obviously concerned about insurance and all of that sort of stuff. And could we make it on that? And so the deal that I struck was is that we would take all the money from the real job, and we would put that into a savings account, and we would start living off the business. And if I didn't touch that savings for a year, that on my 50th birthday that I was going to resign. And that's the way it played out. And so when I left, it was a great place to be, because not only was it on my terms, and we were both happy with the way that it was going, but I had a year's worth of savings as a cushion also. Um, and so about the same time as when I found that you could sell stuff on Amazon, and I had always dabbled in eBay and these other places, but I heard you could sell stuff on Amazon, and so we had a few products, and I threw them up on Amazon, and they immediately took off. And one thing I'll say about myself is when I find something that works, just do more of it, right? And I kind of doubled down on it, and we dove in hard into Amazon, and I kind of felt like I was late to the game, but that was 2011, and now people say, when I tell them I started then, they're like, "Ah, I can't believe you've been on that long." And so it's, it kind of goes back to, when's a good time to plant a tree? It's like yesterday, but if you didn't plant it yesterday, then plant it today. And so it's always a good time to dive into what you're passionate about and what works for you. And so that's kind of where I'm at.
So, what did it feel like for you when you finally were able to submit that notice of resignation?
It was great on a lot of different levels. One that I mentioned before was doing it on my own terms. The really ironic thing was is that when I left, I gave 2 weeks notice and everything, and people understood why I was leaving and so forth, and they gave me a going away party and all of that sort of stuff, which was really great. But the really ironic thing was 6 months later that entire department was laid off.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, so if I hadn't done it on my own terms, now of course my mom, it was a little bit more of a hard sell for her. She was telling people I was unemployed when I went to work for myself, and that and then when I told her all these people were laid off, she was like, "Well, if you'd stayed around, you could have gotten a package." And but she's finally come around to realize that that it has worked, and we've done very well. I'm super blessed, and I get up and do pretty much what I want to. I've kind of um, have built my business so I concentrate on what I think I'm really good at and what I enjoy doing, and I hand things off to my team to handle all the fulfillment and customer service and all of those other aspects of the business.
That's really remarkable, and congratulations. And I
Yeah.
love what you did, and the agreement. I love that you had an agreement with your wife. That's really awesome
Yeah.
because that took away a lot of fear.
It did, and I mean, I can't underestimate how valuable my wife's support has been through all of this. Because when the side hustles were going on, I still had my regular job. So she would come home. She was a school nurse, and she'd come home after her day, and she would work on fulfilling some orders and things like that. So she's been very supportive, through this whole thing, and you know it certainly has given me the motivation that, I had to make this work. I mean, I guess I could have always gone, I mean, right. I mean, even if
Yeah,
you fail, I still could have gone back and got another graphic design job or whatever, so,
right.
but it's sort of thing that, I'm going to make it work, and I'll just figure it out. And when you run into tough times, you just reevaluate and drop back and figure out what your next move is and move forward.
Right. No,
Yeah.
that's great. Well, what I was talking about with the
Mhm.
fear, like having that cushion of the money, because I think that's the biggest fear that people have is that you're giving up security. You're giving up, like you said, you have insurance, all those question marks. How are we going to do this? How are we going to pay for that? But that was so brilliant plan
I,
because then you had that cushion. You didn't,
And
yeah,
I think it is for people that are considering going out and, starting their own business or whatever. I think that is something along those lines is a really good way that you don't quit until you almost have to, just because you can't split yourself that far between the two. Doing it cold turkey, there's, some people will say that, burn the ship and, just dive in head first. And there is something to be said for that. But on the same token, I think, especially at the age that we were at and everything, you've got a lot of obligations, right?
that's right.
So, I still had a daughter that was going off to college and,
Hmm.
mortgage and, life, right, as an adult. And, just throwing caution to the wind and hoping that you've got a plan, because as much as you want to pretend like, how everything's going to work out, you really don't. And so it's important to kind of take those steps and figure out what works and stuff. Because if you listen to the market, and you're throwing enough things in front of it, the market's going to tell you what they want. And a lot of times that'll take you in a completely different direction than where you started at, right?
Yep.
Uh, yeah.
No, you are so right. And I think anytime you start a business, you have to be willing to be flexible and fluid and kind of go with what your customers want. Sometimes we see things one way, and I'm for those that are just listening, it's kind of like I have my hands up here like blindfolds, like with the horses, where it's kind of like you stick with that tunnel vision. You think, well, this is how it has to be, but you have to be open to exploring other possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's I think that's really important, that, the old adage, do what you love. And there certainly has to be a degree of that, because you have to enjoy what you do to get up and, work through the hard parts every day. But doing what you love doesn't mean ignoring what customers want, right? Because if you're just doing it for you, then it's a hobby, right? Even if you can make some money on it, you're just doing what you want just for you. And if you can sell it, then great. But when you really want to run a business, you really need to pay attention to what the customer wants and what they're looking for, because ultimately that's, if you're defining it by sales and everything, then that's what success is making customers happy.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So where does your inspiration come from with some of your pieces? I'm looking at your website right now, and they're really awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you get your inspiration to make these designs?
It's one of those things that over time I've kind of trained my eye, and so I'll literally every time, pretty much anytime we go into a store, I can see something. I'll go, oh, that's it. I like that saying. We could do something with it, and we always try to twist it around to make it our own, even if we get inspiration from lots of other places. But we always try to make it original, and I've gotten things. I'll go and look at T-shirts a lot of times is a great place for inspiration, or Pinterest, memes, things like that.
Hmm.
And when I find something that I like, we'll kind of put that into a file as ideas for future projects. And a lot of times it's just making something original is taking something that exists and then doing it in a new format. Like you see something on a T-shirt, but now we put it on a metal sign, and nobody is selling it that same saying as a metal sign, and someone wants it for their backyard bar or garage or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's great. And what I want to touch on, and why, I was looking before we started the interview, I was thinking, okay, I always like to bring everything back to happiness because it's Happiness Solved podcast. And, I don't know that people really realize how signs can really shift your mindset, whether it be a laugh. I just read one of yours and I almost started cracking up. Like right here. Now I'm letting myself laugh. It's hysterical. So I'm going to read it. Swim at your own risk. This is a private pool. The lifeguard is probably on a beer run. We're not responsible for shark bites or other personal injury. I love that. I mean, it's funny. Like anything that can bring a smile, make you laugh, like the little things like that. It just makes such a difference. But what I like about yours is that you can customize it, right?
There's not everyone, but there's a
But
large
there's
percentage
some.
of what we do that where you can put your name on there, or if it's for someone else, you can do it that way. We also have a keepgate clothes sign that you can go in and put all of your dogs with their names on it. We have over 200 different breeds to choose from, and every breed has multiple colors, so you can make each one look like the dogs that you have, and then and you see it in real time too. As you're clicking the choices, you'll see it populate on the web page, and so what you see is what you get. And so it's a great it's one of our more really one of our most popular signs, because people love their dogs and their pets and so forth.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and we're doing more of that now. It's quite a process to get that set up to where it has the interaction on the computer screen to be able to do it in real time. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to make that happen. But we're doing more and more of that. We've got someone now that will be doing a lot more of that for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So what advice can you give to someone who, maybe has a side hustle, is really afraid to, take that next step, take the plunge? What advice can you give?
Just to get started realistically, and depending on what they're doing, but I have to say that from a ease of starting standpoint, Etsy really has to be kind of top of list. We sell on Etsy. We don't do as much of a volume there as we do on Amazon, but it's really grown, especially since the pandemic. There's a lot more traffic, a lot more eyeballs. A lot of people were exposed to Etsy for face masks and things like that that never knew about it before. And so there's a much larger audience. Etsy now comes in, if you take eBay out of the mix, which I kind of consider for more for used items and stuff, but if you take Etsy out of the mix, it's the third largest e-commerce site in the United States now.
Etsy
Um,
is?
Etsy is,
Oh,
and
wow.
and it is competitive, but so is any other marketplace. But it's a great place. The barrier of entry is pretty low, and they automate a lot of things. And it's a great place for people to start and to learn how e-commerce works and about delivering things to customers on time and dealing with customer service and shipping and all of these sort of things that will translate across all marketplaces. But it is a good place to start, and really the place that I would recommend that most people probably, again, it's somewhat dependent on the product that you do, but
Right.
if you designed it, then Etsy pretty much will allow you to sell it even if you don't manufacture it. You just have to put on there that you have a third party partner that manufactures it for you. But like coffee mugs are a great example.
Right.
If you came up with the design and it got printed by a mug company and sent to the customer, that's something that you'll see all over Etsy.
Nice. Yeah. I actually am going to be launching some products based around my brand, which is Happiness Solved. And yeah, I started with Etsy, but I haven't finished. Like nothing has been launched. But yeah, that's really great. So fast forward, like how long have you been in, how long, what year did you quit your corporate job?
That was 2011.
2011. So you've been at this for a good while now. So what was it like the first year, you know, you're on your own. Like how did you feel? Like what let's talk about mindset for a little bit. Like in terms of did you find that you were a lot happier? Like what did that do for your whole lifestyle?
It was interesting because in the job that I had at HP, the things that I were designing were things that I was doing for other people, and I got to put my flavor on it and everything, but I was designing for other people, and when I went full time, there really was kind of a freedom that popped up that I could go to take a yoga class in the morning, one day a week if I wanted to, and that I got up on when I wanted to. I stopped setting an alarm, and I got up when I got up, and I started working, and um, I was able to devote a lot more time to the business. And I've heard this as a frequent thing of people that once they quit their real world job and go out on their own, that they find that the business accelerates pretty rapidly just because you now have more time to devote to it every day, and that your mind is, when you're at work and you're working on your business, trying to figure out how to grow it.
Right, right. Yeah, I can imagine that would be a huge shift. Huge shift. So you're now 11, 12 years into it, into your
Yeah,
business.
full timer, huh?
That's really incredible because, as you know, most businesses fail in the first 5 years, and it's hard. How did
Mhm.
you keep up the long game? Because that's what the one thing I've heard with so many other mentors that I've had. You have to have the long game mentality. How did you keep that long game mentality this long for 12 years?
Well, I think there's a few different aspects that one of the reasons why I've been successful, and one is being totally flexible, right? So we started out, one of the main businesses that we had was in the pet space. So we started that business, and that took off relatively quickly. And then once we moved on to Amazon, we started to notice all these other things. So we started off with one product, and then we added dog treat bags and leashes and collars and pet brushes and all of these sort of things. So I really wasn't doing much. I mean, I was doing the graphic design for like packaging and stuff, but I wasn't really doing my art at that point. And I was just kind of following what the customers, where I saw opportunity and where there was a demand. And so we did that to begin with, but then as time went along, like, I saw an art piece that was a dog blueprint, and it was looked like a dog, but it also looked like a blueprint, and it would, identify the different parts of the dog, and it had funny things, but then it had uh, the part in the corner, and you could customize it and put the dog's name in and its age and breed and these sort of things in the corner. And so I did that, and that started getting some traction. I was like, should do more art. And so I started following that path, right? And which kind of then was like full circle, right? Because now I was coming back to my roots, really. And so then it was just kind of unlimitless creativity, right? Because then I started seeing inspiration everywhere.
Wow.
And the next really important part of this, though, is building the team around me, right? Because I couldn't do all of this by myself. There's no way. And everybody starts at this position where, when they go into a business where are wearing all hats. And it's good to start there and to understand the basis for all of that. But then at some point, you also need to understand that you can't do it all and you shouldn't do it all, and that you need to surround your people with people that you can trust to take care of the parts that they do a better job at. And so I'm not a micromanager. My saying is, I hire adults. I expect you to make adult decisions. If you make a mistake, that's fine. We'll figure out what happened, and then we'll try not to do that again. And I really have tried to, I built a team around me that I can throw. I have a full-time graphic designer now because I was kind of the bottleneck, and I still do graphic design quite a bit. But if we just relied on me, it wouldn't be. We wouldn't have nearly as many products as we do. So I
Right.
throw an idea at her and let her run with it. Then I take a look at it and we'll jump on a call and I'll say, well, I really don't like this font, or can we make this blue? Or I'll give her feedback and then she'll make an adjustment. And then once she does that, then I hand that off to a different team that creates the listings on Amazon and Etsy and all of that. And then when orders come in, I have different team members that actually will make the metal sign or the canvas or the print or whatever it is. And then there's other people that handle all the shipping and packing. And I have a full-time customer service person that just deals with making customers happy. And so it's surrounding yourself with people that you can trust. And I've been really fortunate to, my production manager has been with me for a little over, like almost really since I went full time, about 10 years now. And I kind of let her, all the production side of things, I hand off to her, and we meet on a weekly basis and go over what's working and what's not, and where we need to make adjustments and everything. But that really is it. As you scale up, you really need to let go of things and trust that you have people that can support you, and let them do their job. And if things go wrong, and they will,
Yeah.
then you sit down and you talk about it and you say, how do we fix this problem? Do we need more people? Do we need more equipment? Do we need different procedures? All of these sort of things that go with that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was really great. Thank you for that, because yeah, the whole thing with not micromanaging people, but still then feeling comfortable enough to trust somebody else with what you're doing, and just letting go of that control, because you can't do everything.
Right.
And that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing to learn to trust, to learn
It
to,
is.
it's a big mindset thing, is
Yeah.
just really trusting.
Right. And it, it
Yeah.
is it is important to surround yourself with those people, and when things don't work out, and they won't work out for every employee, it's just, you need to cut the cord and regroup and go back and look at yourself too and say, was it my fault that we didn't choose that I didn't choose the right person for this position, right? Because there was a mismatch there for some reason. It's not necessarily their fault, for what happened. It's just it wasn't a good fit. And going back and re-examining and saying, okay, maybe I was looking for the wrong type of person, or there was something that I should have noticed that made this not a good fit. And now I know that. So let's readjust and see if we can find someone that fits into that hole a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience before we finish the interview?
Gosh. Um, I think that if you build a business properly, I think that, there's this work-life balance sort of thing that's out there, and there's a lot of discussion about whether it's real or not, and I think it is real. It doesn't mean that business won't be challenging, and it doesn't mean that you can just drop whatever you're doing all the time and do everything that you would like to do. But I think if you build the business kind of from the mindset of going in and just building up that team really is the most crucial thing. It does give you that flexibility, which I've taken advantage of here lately. I've got a lot going on in my life, a lot of moving pieces and stuff. And I can kind of step away from the business, and as long as I've got a laptop and the internet, I can be gone for a week or so without a problem. This summer, we bought a mountain home, and so my wife and I are going to spend 2 months up there and get away from the heat and humidity of Houston for 2 months. And like I said, internet and laptop, happy to travel and do all of that stuff. And you can have that, parts of both of that. But it comes down to, again, just how you structure the business, the kind of business that you get into. A lot of times can be a big factor in that. But in a world, that's so connected now by internet and Zoom calls and things like that, it does offer a lot more flexibility than there used to be, for sure. So,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
think being online, I think, is another thing. A brick and mortar can be great, but if there's something that you can do that can be an online business and sold through marketplaces and so forth, there certainly is a whole lot more flexibility in that. And I think realistically, I think there's a lot less risk than being in a lease, for a shop for 3 to 5 years and all that goes with that. So a lot of those things just kind of come down to the choices that you make and, deciding how you want to live your own life.
Oh, I love it. I love it. This has been so great. The website is lonestarart.com. And if they go to that, they can order pretty much anything, or is there another place where they have to go to order the products?
No, that's it. That's our main site. But if you go to Amazon also and type in Lone Star Art, you'll start to see all of our items there. We sell on both places. So, everybody trusts Amazon. So that's a great reason why people love shopping there. And a lot of our items are prime. So you might be able to get, one of our signs in your hand, tomorrow.
Right.
That's right. So yeah, we have a really everything that we sell is on Amazon pretty much, and so there. But Lone Star Art is our home site, and so we're happy to take care of customers there and make people happy, and hopefully bring a smile to their face.
Yes, we need that for sure. So thank you so much, Norm. Really appreciate this. And thank you for just really diving in. Because I feel like this conversation would be so great for anybody, who's looking to start that side hustle. I think with COVID, a lot of us have just are really evaluating our choices and what we're doing in life, because we want to be happy, and you can be happy.
Even if it just stays a side hustle, if you could generate an extra $500 a month, who's going to argue with that?
No kidding.
That's a vacation a year, right?
And good luck, and good luck. Have fun this summer with your wife at your mountain home. You deserve that. You earned that. Congratulations to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
Bye.